Well, hello and welcome back. Bienvenidos nuevamente. We continue with the program with Quantum-Latino. Hello, welcome back. Our next speaker is Tom Crabtree from QETS. He will talk us about quantum safe communications. I will introduce Tom. He has spent the last 7 years working for international corporations in business development teams around the UK and Ireland, using his experience and skills gaining the finance, construction, and logistics sectors. Tom is now helping QETS bring on chip quantum key distribution and high-performance quantum random number generation from the laboratory into the real world. So, Tom, we are delighted to have with us in Quantum-Latino. Very welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rafael. It's good to be here. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everybody. It's very nice to be here. As Rafael said, I'm Tom Crabtree, Business Development Manager for QETS Quantum Security in Bristol, in the southwest of England. I have a slide deck to show. Shall I share that now, Rafael?
Go ahead. I will tell you when it's visible.
You see that?
It's coming now. Let's see. So I can see it. Okay. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So yes, as a quick introduction, as Rafael said, I've spent the last almost decade in business development, working in multinational global corporations, mainly in Europe and the UK. And I've realized that all my past companies have had a very similar issue. Now, Rafael and I just spoke about this briefly, and probably the sectors that I used to be in are slightly early for this conversation, but all of my last companies, construction, logistics, finance, they've all had problems with future-proofing their systems. It's always a conversation they've had, and especially when it comes to IT and the infrastructure around that. So I'd moved from these massive corporations with thousands of employees to a small startup, 5 years old in England. And I've realized that we've got a really significant part to play in the future landscape of cybersecurity. So I'm here to quickly talk to you about keeping our data safe with an eye on the advent of the quantum computing age. So we always start, generally, with a problem. Now, the problem in this case being the new oil. I think my screen's dropped out, so apologies, bear with. I should be back. So as I say, data is the new oil. It's a common phrase around these parts. In the 21st century, we have data. In the 18th century, we had oil. Both of them immensely untapped, valuable assets. We're in a digital economy where data is more valuable than ever. It's key to the smooth functionality of everything from government, local companies, financial institutions, going back to my construction logistics days. Everything relies on data, and it's more key than ever these days. So there's simple things: website hosting, financial, and going up to sort of financial institutions' entire operations. Everything is now generated, sent, processed, stored, accessed from the cloud, and it's these sorts of places, the information age that we live in, where we suddenly realize there's a massive weak link in the chain, which needs to be looked at. With the age of, say, the advancement and the advent of quantum computing, you know, it's no longer 50 years off. It used to be, even 10, 20 years ago, people were still thinking quantum computers were a myth and theoretical, and they may never happen, they may appear in half a century. Now we're looking at all the news. It's regular. People, companies are plowing a lot of money into quantum computing, and countries. And it's been progressing in leaps and bounds in a few short years. We live in hyper-connected lives. Just how much information is out there is, you can't imagine it at the moment. I mean, every single aspect, certainly my life and certainly everyone I know and work with, it's digital. All the notes you take are kept on the cloud, all the photos, all the messages you send, emails, texts, anything like that, personal banking information, contacts, everything's stored on machines, computers, laptops, phones. And with that, people don't realize that the information isn't necessarily stored on those phones, on those laptops, on those computers. It's stored in the cloud, or it's stored somewhere on a server. And the information has to get to those places somehow. And so this is what we're focused on at QETS. It's sort of the 5G world and beyond. If you talk to people about security, they think either the industry standards and the techniques used are fit for purpose and they're working, and therefore security is fine and it's done. Or you talk to them and go, there might be an issue, and they think it's someone else's problem. It's not done, and that's why we're here. Companies like QETS and certainly companies that you will work for and academia, we understand that it's not done. The advent of the quantum computing age means standard techniques are rapidly approaching end of shelf life. There are increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and obviously once quantum computing comes along, then that will be an extra factor to it. It's no longer a generation away. There's a quote that I've heard from Michel Mosca, who's one of the foremost experts in this, and he says there's a 1 in 7 chance that key cryptographic tools are going to be broken by the year 2026, and a 50% chance by 2031. Now that's 10 years away, 50% chance. The other side of that as well is the fact that not only are these algorithms going to be broken potentially by quantum computers, but likelihood is, if there is someone who gets a quantum computer, large scale, they'll apply a lot of money into it, as I said, but certain factions won't speak about it. They'll keep it a secret because they know that people will try and combat that. So there's that other side of things. It's not only the fact that we know it's going to happen, it's the fact that we won't necessarily know when it's happened. And so these sorts of things, hacking today can be cracking tomorrow, and it could literally be tomorrow. I mean, in all likelihood, it's a couple of years away. However, the fact that data is regularly being stolen, the fact that it's being dumped online, it's being ransomware, so it's being stolen and then it's being encrypted, and people are asking for money to decrypt it effectively. It gets placed in the public domain, or it can get used for other ways. But it's all data related. So if the data can be stolen, it can be stored. If it can't be decrypted by the enemy or whoever's stolen it, they can wait. They can build a quantum computer and they can crack the codes then. Now, the rise of the internet and my previous slide saying, you know, the leaps and bounds that we've taken in the technical advances, it's an amazing world we live in. The internet has made it a really, really small world. It's brought everyone closer. However, that does mean that people in their basements, in Europe, in Asia, wherever, they can hack across oceans. It's made the world so much smaller that you don't know who's attacking, you don't know when they're going to attack, and you can't see them because they're thousands of miles away. Now, the progress towards quantum computers breaking these algorithms, as I say, it's regularly, rapidly accelerating. Now, excuse me, this is a very simple graph, which people may have seen before. Exactly how crypto works is by having a problem that doubles the difficulty for a computer to crack as it grows. So basically, if a computer cracks a code, if you add a single bit, it will double the hardness. For quantum computers, it doesn't double, it's a linear one. So for the classical computer, we see this red line. Now, you can make the algorithms harder, you can make the codes more difficult to crack, and therefore it takes a lot longer for the classical computers to start cracking these because they've got to work the vast amount of power required. With quantum computers, once they can crack anything, adding a bit doesn't work anymore because really the quantum computer just needs to add a qubit, and it just becomes, as I say, it's a linear thing. It's far more nuanced than that. There's far more technical detail in that, obviously, but the idea is that a quantum computer will be able to crack the most difficult, the longest, the most impossible codes written effectively in a matter of seconds. And it could take a classical computer years, tens of years, and onwards. It's a real issue which will provide an awful lot of benefits. However, this is a real issue that we've got to deal with. Now, that was all the bad stuff. Technical advances are they're there for a reason. They're always a good thing, but they bring potential issues with them. Now, the solution for this future cyber hacking is the best way, we believe, the best way is to have a quantum safe toolbox. Now, these are the pieces. We've got three main pieces that people talk about when we're talking about crypto in the quantum age. You've got quantum random number generators, QRNG, quantum key distribution, QKD, for the most sort of quantum safe communications, and you've got PQC, post-quantum cryptography. Now, that brings the flexibility of software. It might not have the vast security promise that the QKD will bring, but it does bring flexibility. Now, our philosophy at QETS, we combine these. It's a toolbox you can have. So if you can combine the hardware and the software together in a way that is driven by solution requirements, that's the key. Now, I'll probably come back to all this in a moment, but that's sort of the basis of how we see at QETS, how we see this working. Now, very simply, I'm not, by the way, a technically educated person. I work with everyone at QETS who have PhDs and a big background in quantum physics. Now, my background is a bit more simple from the top layer, so I needed to understand how QKD works, and these diagrams really helped. Now, QKD basically encodes keys on single particles of light. Now, you send them through fiber networks to telecommunications companies, or through free space to satellites, drones, etc., for that side of things, for the free space. Now, these photons are so sensitive that if someone tries to listen in, they leave a fingerprint that sets off the alarms in the system. Now, effectively, what you're seeing there is the photons are received with an error. So the receiver can tell that someone's tried to listen in, someone's tried to nudge, effectively, and they've left a fingerprint. And the message comes out garbled. It's obvious that someone's tried to listen in. So the alarm goes off. Now, if there's no alarm, then we can guarantee, 100% guarantee, that no one has listened into that key to the transaction. The data encoded in the photon is secure, and that can become a key. So that is it in essence. Now, the extra factor to this, which I found amazing, because we talk about quantum computing, and my previous slide showed that, you know, how well quantum computers can crack codes. Classical computers nor quantum computers can crack this. It doesn't matter how powerful your computer is. You will not be able to sufficiently look into the transaction. There will always be that alarm going off. So neither quantum computers nor classical computers can break this. So that is the real joy. Now, every single company has got to think about the future. They will have teams set up to do it, and different sectors and different companies will have a different view on it, and some will be further down the line than others. And as I said before, I've talked to the sectors that I've worked in before, and some of them don't understand the threat. Some of them don't believe that it's necessary to look at right now. But there are those that are interested in assessing their threat. And the really simplified way of doing it is working out a timeline. So you think who the threat is, who is most likely to gain from taking your data or from trying to take your data, and how long will that body, will the enemy effectively, how long will it be until they have quantum technology? So you have an understanding there in the identification stage of the amount of data that you could potentially lose, and who it's likely to be and how long it will take them. Now, the second step to that is the transformation stage. You've got to understand everything that needs to happen in your company to effect that change, to ensure that you are safe, that the data is not going to be stolen. Now, depends how much data there is, it depends how big the company is. But there's two questions there. How long will the assets last, the data? How long will it take for that data still to be useful? And how long will it take to actually do the transformation, to update your software, update your systems, do whatever's required to get you quantum safe? Now, what you need to have is your identify stage, in the end of it, needs to be longer than the transformation stage. So if you wait until you suddenly realize we know who the enemy is and they've got a quantum computer and they're going to likely to have it working in 6 months, there's an issue. If you have if you have less than 6 months with your data, and therefore your data is at risk right now. Like I said earlier on, people can steal data now. They can store it, and they can wait until a quantum computer comes along and decrypt, and your data's out in the open. Now, I am using this platform and this event as an introductory piece into a new geography. I freely admit I don't know vast amounts about the quantum industry in Central and Southern America. I've learned a fair bit in the event that I've attended a few sessions and spoken to a few people. It's really interesting, and I think it's key here that we've had the problem, we've had the solution. Now, introducing KETS is effectively, we're a small company, but we're looking to protect the world's most valuable resource from the threat of quantum computing. So we combine the power. I spoke before about QRNG, QKD, and PQC. We're combining those powers of quantum technologies to solve some of the most important security challenges on the planet. This graphic on your screen now is a real tiny snapshot of the connected world. It's the connected cities. You've got drones, you've got medical supplies, you've got the military. Everything is entwined, and it's only going to get more so. Now, our plan is to make all these connections safe, so you can trust these connections effectively, because at the moment it's very difficult to fully trust every connection. So who are KETS? KETS was born in Bristol in the southwest of England, spun out from the University of Bristol. We're a world-renowned quantum-safe solutions provider. There's a lovely team photo we've had recently done. But these people on your screen are experts, world experts in their field. We've only got 15 people at the moment, full-time, we're growing. We have recently opened our first international office in Paris, which is a really big deal. And we have raised, recently announced yesterday, day before, a nice bit of funding that's we've managed to raise investments. So we are growing, and we're growing quickly. We've also won a fair few awards along the way, local, international. We're a very interesting company to work for. So now, remember when a few slides ago, there were two different answers people used to give. Either security was fine because the standards are okay and technology is fine, or it's someone else's problem. Now, we've decided, okay, that's our problem. We're not saying that's someone else's problem. So we're going to step up and say, look, we can provide something that can be a real key tool in this fight. We figured out how to miniaturize quantum-safe hardware in a size, form factor, and price point that now makes it interesting to telecommunications companies, data centers, defense. We were the first company with an on-chip quantum encryption solution, and we are up there in the world leaders in integrated chip-based quantum cryptography hardware. So the two images you got there are real photos of the chips, the QRNG and the QKD. The QKD really does provide the ultimate security, future-proof eavesdropping detection. It's a low size, weight, and power. It's easily integrated into larger systems. And similarly with QRNG, they're both high-speed systems. They're both low size, weight, and power, and they are key. The innovation side of our products and our delivery, delivery is effectively just what I've talked through. So the work our tech team are doing is second to none. Our products are simple to use, they're easy to integrate, they work with your systems. They won't be one of these sort of bulky add-ons that are really difficult to include. We want to work with companies. We're still at a stage where, as I say, we're a startup. We can work with companies to really understand what solution is right for them, what works in their sector, their industry, their company specifically. So we can make sure the systems that we develop are the right ones. And with the scalability side of things, we have the real ability to scale the company, scale production, and ensure it's even more cost effective than before. So where do we see these fitting in? Now, I spoke before, construction, logistics, finance, they're maybe a bit early. Where we see the backbone is the defense and the telecommunications sectors. They are, in all likelihood, the first sectors to feel the pain. They are integrated into our lives. It doesn't matter what country you're in. They are the first sectors that will be, they're already being targeted many times over, but they'll also continue to be the first ones to be aimed at. So it's in defense and telecoms, and then from there you got protect communications. So secure communications, you go down through the industrial, commercial campuses. You can connect multiple secure buildings. With critical infrastructure, you can defend remote sensor networks, factory automation, critical infrastructure side of things. With data centers, you can secure offsite backup for data centers. Cloud storage is a huge one, and emergency recovery, obviously, and satellite comms, safeguarding global communications with satellites and high altitude pseudo satellites. So effectively, with these four things, you're connecting every single part, including the hardest to reach locations and platforms. And it's the main aspect of this. Now, QETs may be small, may be young. We've done a fair bit of work in this area. We've worked with Airbus, ID Quantique, universities of Oxford and Bristol. So we had a really interesting project with a drone demonstrating QKD through free space. This provided us a platform really to push the low size, weight and power QKD enabled units. So that's suitable for the primary target of drone flight. Future potential applications of that are sort of space platforms and telecoms, and being able to push things there. We have also worked with CryptoNext. We were lucky enough to be selected at Thales's Cyber at Station F project in Paris, and through that we worked on many things, including a proof of concept quantum safe hardware security module with Thales, but also we demonstrated a quantum safe digital document signing tool with PQC partner CryptoNext, and we met them through the Cyber at Station F program, which was a really, really interesting project. So I'm finishing up with three things that have changed in the past few years. The quantum threat is getting closer. The standards are expected soon, so vendors are preparing for migration. Now is the time to consider the quantum safe alternatives. And I know everyone is very bored of hearing about this, but the COVID-19 pandemic, it has shown that we need to prepare for these threats rather than scrambling at the last minute. So that is my time. Thank you very much. If there's anything else anybody would like to know, I'll be hanging around at our booth after this. My details, I'm sure, are on this platform, and yeah, drop me a line. I'll be really interested to talk to everybody here. I really want to know more about the geography and how potentially there are opportunities to work with anybody in this space.
Thank you, Tom. Very interesting presentation. Very interesting to know about QETs, about your experience. We have time. We have 2 minutes, and we have time for one question that is coming from the floor. Emilio says, "Great talk, Tom. Thanks for sharing. Considering your experience and the expertise of QETs with quantum security, what would you recommend to a startup company to do to initiate businesses on quantum solution?" So yeah, asking your advice.
Question. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Emilio. So recommending a startup company to initiate business on quantum solutions. I would, the main bit of advice that anybody can ever give regarding startups in any industry is to talk to as many people as possible. The quantum solutions ideas are, we're talking about them, events like this are more and more commonplace. So really it's about talking to as many people as you can, getting in front of people and understanding what their needs and requirements are, and the education of quantum solutions will be coming. As I say, I've spoken to an awful lot of people who either have never heard of quantum technology, they don't believe it applies to them, or conversely, I've talked to companies that have large teams who are funded and looking to do something in this space. So it's really about getting out there and asking the questions, and seeing who will talk to you. I hope that answers the question.
Fine. Great advice. Thank you very much. Well, Tom, thank you for your presence here. It has been great for our audience. And well, there is another question. Excuse me. Do you think that current QKD hardware will be able to supply the necessary key distribution rates necessary? The necessary key distribution rates.
In a word, yes. There is a lot behind that, which would need to understand what people have different ideas of necessary key distribution rates, and therefore the products we're working on and the QKD hardware that we have it's got a high key distribution rate in the market, and therefore it's working products, and the hardware will do the job. Now, everyone's at an early stage in this, and therefore it's only going to get bigger, faster, better. The more we push it out, the more projects we can work on. So, in a word, yes. However, it can always get better.
Okay.
And it will.
Thank you very much. Well, that's the end of our session. You can visit Tom at the Get's booth. Thank you, and we will end the session. Please jump in the next one. Thank you, Tom. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.